Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, optimistic family. Thank you for tuning in to my YouTube channel, which is YouTube at Latoya the Optimist. If you're listening to this by YouTube video, today I have a special message to all leaders around every nation around the world, the 7 Z's. Please take a seat. Again, please draw your royal chair and welcome to the Royal Optimistic family, where I share not only message that's given to me by the divine King, which is Lord Jesus, but also from my heart. And it's always from my heart. And he doesn't give, you have to have love for all people for him to use you. So I am grateful to be able to give you this message to all leaders and to citizens everywhere. Please, I would love for you to take your time and listen. It is quite long, so if you have any distractions around you, I'm going to kindly ask you to clear all distractions and be encouraged. Do not get offended. This is purely for change and for you and everyone to live happy and to have a happy humanity, a happy world. Okay, so as I begin this message, this is the first part of the speech. Again, it is quite long, so you may have to take some quality time. The title, the first part of this message is called Let's Play Domino. Leaders, before we sit at a table, let's play domino. And may I say, it is not a game, but as a lesson. So please listen with an open heart, because history has already taught us that one move can affect more than one nation, as we see it currently in the news. One decision can reach farther than one room. We already can see that happening already. And it has been happening worldwide for decades. So this speech is for change, for permanent change, for us and you, leader, not to repeat the same generation and decades of hundred-year old way of doing things. Again, listen with an open heart, because one conversation can travel beyond one table. One reaction can become a chain reaction. Dominoes may look small for those of you who don't know, but when they are lined up, each one holds, in this case, potential. Each one carries position. Each one is close enough to affect the next one. And once the first one moves, the other can feel the force. This is why I am using this illustration. And as you can see, the picture that I will eventually put up. Because leaders you are like dominoes, standing before history. Nations are like dominoes standing across the earth. Economies, family, children, borders, land, and sea are all connected in ways we cannot afford to ignore. When I say let's play domino, I am not inviting leaders into a game. I'm not inviting you to a game with me or among your fellow leaders. Absolutely not. I am inviting leaders. Let's look into the mirror together. Let's look and see what is currently happening, what has happened in the past that is repeating, which is not working out. Please, I invite you, leaders, let's look into the mirror. Watch with me as I speak to you today. Look, for example, at the domino. It stands like nation. It stands like a leader. It stands like a decision. It stands like a responsibility. Before it falls, which is the domino, it carries potential. I hope you're following me so far. The question is, what kind of chain reaction will your leadership create? Because this is where leadership must understand the cause and effect system. One word can become a trigger. And I see this is also to create the awareness, as you already see that is happening. One word become a trigger, right? One disagreement can become a trigger. One prideful decision can become a trigger. One act of revenge become a trigger. One hidden motive can become a trigger. And one refusal to listen can also become a trigger. One wrong seed planted at the table can become a harvest that me, people, and everyone, even your family, are forced to live inside. Once the first trigger is released, it begins, as you know, if you're familiar with domino, a ripple effect that does not stay at the table. Absolutely not. It travels into homes. It travels into schools. It travels into communities. It travels into market. It travels into land. It travels across the seas. It travels into the mind of the next generation. This is why leadership must be aligned with Jesus. Because when leadership is not aligned with Jesus, become the fallen domino. And one fallen domino can create a chain reaction. One chain reaction can become a system of fear. And a system of fear can become, again, a system of fear can begin killing the harvest. The harvest is humanity. The harvest is not only crops, money, land, or economy. The harvest is people. The harvest is the mother praying, praying day after day for peace. The harvest is the father trying to protect his family. The harvest is the elderly needed safety. The harvest is the poor needed justice. The harvest is the nation needed healing. All nation. The harvest is the future. Your future. My family, your neighborhood family, your country's future. Needing leaders who know when to stop the wrong domino before it falls. That is why the first move matters. The wrong first move, once again, can poison the soil. The wrong first move can lock, believe it or not, it locks freedom. It locks freedom. The wrong first move can delay rebuilding. The wrong first move can damage nations. The right first move. May I say again? The right first move can and does protect the soil. The first move can unlock freedom. The right first move can begin rebuilding. The right first move can produce a harvest of peace, order, wisdom, dignity. This is why peace must be the first move. Peace is not weakness. No. Peace is living soil. Peace is where freedom can unlock. Peace is where rebuilding can begin. Peace is where nations can become the harvest. And in my teaching, through the eyes of an eagle, I mentioned changing the seed to change the harvest. Changing the seed, change the harvest. The message was this: before you ask for a better harvest, examine the seed. If you change the seed, you can change the harvest. So, leaders, I ask you, what seed are you planting at the table? Are you planting peace? Are you planting fear? Are you planting humility? Or are you planting pride? Are you planting unity? Or are you planting division? Are you planting rebuilding? Or are you planting destruction? Are you planting something the next generation can eat from? Or are you planting something they will have to survive? Because every decision is a seed. Every law is a seed. Every agreement is a seed. Every threat is a seed. Every prayer is a seed. Every act of peace is a seed. I said every act of peace is a seed. Every act of betrayal is a seed. Every act of service is a seed. And whatever seed is planted at the leadership table will become a harvest in lives of people. This is why the table is sacred. The table is not just wood, glass, chairs, microphones, and all the flags of all nations and names at the table. The table represents assignment. The table represents influence. The table represents the place where one decision can either protect the harvest or poison the soil. When the soil is poisoned, the harvest suffers. If the soil is filled with bitterness, revenge, greed, corruption, pride, wicked control, then the people eventually, almost immediately, feels the poison. Families will feel it. The newborn, before they are even born, will feel it. Children going to school will feel it. A mother barely trying to survive will feel it. A father looking for a job with nowhere to turn will feel it. Communities will feel it. Nations, all nations will feel it. Even the land and sea connected to those nations, just to emphasize, will feel the weight of decision made out of control. But if peace becomes the soil, then freedom can unlock what fear has locked up. If freedom is the people, then rebuilding immediately starts. Yes. And if rebuilding begins, then wealth is not only money. Wealth becomes safety. Wealth becomes dignity. Wealth becomes wisdom. Wealth becomes inheritance. Wealth becomes a future where people are not forced to survive inside fear. That is true harvest. Now let us talk about what I call the chain reaction. Let's break it down. This is what we do not want. One trigger of conversation turning into a disagreement, and one disagreement turning into a threat, one threat turning into a retaliation, and one retaliation turning into war, and one war turning into harvest of people all over mourning. This is the wrong chain reaction. This is the kind of domino fall that kills every harvest that's planted. And the harvest, may I say respectfully, leaders, is humanity. So the key is to identify the initial trigger. Where did the first domino move? Was it pride? Was it fear? Was it greed? Was it revenge? Was it betrayal? Was it insecurity? Was it corruption? Was it the desire to dominate? Was it the refusal to listen? Was it the refusal to share space? Was it a leader forgetting that the people belong to God? Because when leaders identify the trigger, they can interrupt the fall. That is wisdom. That is strategy. That is spiritual discipline. That is leadership under Jesus. A leader aligned with Jesus does not wait for destruction to prove power. A leader aligned with Jesus uses wisdom to stop destruction before it becomes a harvest of mourning. May I say again? People crying, people dying of illness, pollution. This is the kind of leadership, may I say, a leader aligned with Jesus uses wisdom to stop destruction before it becomes a harvest of mourning. This is the kind of leadership the nation needs. All nation needs, all country needs. We do not need leaders who simply know how to argue. We need leaders who know how to resolve. We do not need leaders who only know how to win, again, at the table. That is good, but not only at the table. We need leaders who know how to protect the people connected to the table. We do not need political parties that only protect pride. We need hearts that protect truth, justice, peace, and assignment under God. This is where leaders must understand that behavioral changes between leaders matters. Again, understand that your behavior changes between leaders, between each other, matters. It is not enough to sit at the table. It is not enough just to shake hands. It is not enough to sign a paper or any papers or multiple papers. It is not enough to speak peace while planting fear. The heart must change. The seed must change. The first move must change. Because if the seed changes, the harvest can change. If the trigger changes, the ripple effect can change. In the first domino change, if the first domino changes, ladies and gentlemen, leaders, the chain reaction can change. This is why a humble approach is not small. Prayer before meeting is not small. A peaceful word is not small. A decision to pause is not small. A refusal to retaliate is not small. A leader choosing people over pride is not small. These are tiny moves with powerful consequence. These are holy dominoes. These are the seed of peace. These are the moves that can change the harvest. So leaders of nations, leaders of nations, leaders of government, leaders of political parties, leaders of influence, and leaders sitting near power. Before you move the first domino, remember that Jesus is present. He is present at the table. He sees the motives. He sees the heart. He sees the trigger. He sees the ripple. He sees the harvest before the harvest appears. So let the first move be wisdom, please. Let the first move be humility. Let the first move be prayer. Let the first move be peace. Because the wrong move can begin a chain reaction that kills the harvest. But one righteous move aligned with Jesus can begin a chain reaction that heals nation. So leaders, before you move the first domino, pause. Because once the first domino falls, it does not ask permission from the next one. That is how cause and effect works. That is how a ripple begins. That is how one conversation can become a crisis. This is how one disagreement can become division. This is how one act of pride can become a harvest of pain. And that is why this message cannot end here. Because I know part one of this message about domino, I know this. This message, this part one was about the trigger. This part one, yes, is about the cause and effect. And yes, this part of the message was about the ripple that can either protect the harvest or begin killing the harvest. And the harvest, may I say again, is humanity. But I would like to say in part two, we must go deeper. I will go deeper because after we understand the domino, after you've replayed this message, we must go now to the table. Not just to any table, the leadership table. The table where nations sits. The table where decisions are made. The table where pride must bow. The table where betrayal must be exposed. The table where, excuse me, peace must become the first move. The table where leaders must understand that Jesus is not absent. He is, ladies and gentlemen, Royal Optimistic family. He is present. He is listening. He is weighing hearts. He is. He is watching the motives behind your agreement between each other. The agreement behind the agreement. He is watching the motives behind the agreement. He is watching whether power is being used to serve people or control people. So I ask every leader, every nation, every political party, and every listener with influence, before you leave this message, carry this question with you. What domino are you about to move? Is it a domino of peace or a domino of destruction? Is it a domino of wisdom or a domino of pride? Is it a domino that will heal harvest or a domino that will kill the harvest? Because one move can start a chain reaction that nations may mourn. But one righteous move aligned with Jesus can start a chain reaction that nation may rejoice. So do not miss the second part of this message right after this. Because in part two of this message, I am going to sit at the table with you and talk to you. We're going to talk about what it means for you, for all leaders to sit under the authority of Jesus. We're going to talk about Judas sitting close but not being aligned. I'm going to talk to you about Psalms 82, why God judges how leaders treat the poor. Again, we are going to talk about Psalms 82 and why God judges how leaders treat the poor, the fatherless, the needy, and the afflicted. We're going to talk about why leadership is not merely a title, but an assignment under heaven. So I leave you with this. Peace is the first move. Again, peace is the first move. The harvest, may I say, is humanity. So, thank you for taking the time to listen to part one of this message. And now I will begin part two of this message. Family, thank you for tuning in, for staying, for listening for this long. This is a continuation. If you're listening to this as a second video, thank you for clicking that button. If you love this message, please like and subscribe more to this message that will be in the future related, and there will be a presentation, a little summary presentation of the summary of this entire speech. Again, I would like to welcome you to Latoya the Optimist YouTube channel. Thank you if you're a listener of the podcast. Thank you. Now I would like to give you the second part of the video. You've listened to the first, which was called Let's Play Domino. Again, this message is geared towards leaders and everyone of influence. I would like for you to listen to this short message. This is a lot shorter than the first one. And please, again, listen with an open heart, be encouraged, be inspired, and do not get offended. So I would like to begin this message. Thank you. So this part of the message, allow me to say, leadership is not just sitting around a political table. We talked about the domino. We talked about the effect. Now we're going to talk about a summary about what it means to sit around a table. Leadership, again, is not just sitting around a table, a political table. True leadership is sitting under the authority of Jesus. Where every assignment is judged by truth, service, justice, humanity, and care for the people. In Luke 22, Jesus sat with his 12 disciples at Passover. This was not just a meal. No, it was a covenant moment before his suffering. His suffering, may I say, did not happen in vain. Oh no. In every part of the world, in every village, people knows this. Jesus' suffering did not happen in vain. It was not because he lacked divine covering or protection. It was because he willingly laid down his life according to the will of the Father and became the covering. He did not operate in pride. He moved in purpose, obedience, love, and sacrifice. What caused Jesus to go through what he did also shows us something powerful. Please avoid all distraction. This part is very important. I know you're getting phone calls. I know you have a meeting to go into, but I ask you, give me 15 minutes of your time. Like I said, what caused Jesus to go through what he did also show us something powerful. Peace is powerful. Peace is not weakness. Peace is the ultimate strength of the greatest form of wealth. Again, somewhere. Jesus chose peace even when he had the power to call down angels. He chose peace over retaliation, purpose over pride, and obedience over control. Please listen. it gets better. This is the kind of power you, my royal leaders, must understand. And even in the Bible, there were moments when those in authority, please listen, they were ready to respond with force and urgency. It's quite natural. Yet, wisdom rose up among them, reminding them that violence can become, remember, a chain that binds the soul and open the door to darkness. Those who could see clearly understand that not evil conflict require destruction. Let me say that again. Those who could see clearly understand that not every conflict requires destruction, and not every threat, I say again, requires retaliation. And I'll prove it to you. They urge restraint in those times of Jesus and patience, and they cling to discernment, knowing that true strength is revealed in the ability to pause, to listen, and to choose a higher path. Yes, this shows us that true wisdom and true leadership seek peace first. So, let's be an example of Jesus the King. After all, you are part of the royal family. So whenever you gather around the table with your fellow leaders, remember this. Peace must be essential in every agreement. You are chosen for a reason, not to create chaos. No, but to bring order in your country, in every nation. Again, to bring order, unity, and lasting peace. When Jesus took the bread and the cup, he connected leadership. He connected leadership, may I say again, with sacrifice, remembrance, responsibility, and covenant. I'm going to say that again. When Jesus took the bread and the cup, he connected leadership with sacrifice, remembrance, responsibility, and covenant. He established a code of honor at the table that must be upheld in every gathering that you have. It must be upheld in every gathering. This is what? This is the law. This is the blueprint at being at the table. This is the royal approach in leadership. His blood already paid the price for what mankind will never be able to pay for itself. This is something we should honor and celebrate. Each and every leader, I speak to you, to your heart, who sit at the table should know this. As you are sitting, you must activate that authority, not for pride, but for sacrifice, service, and responsibility. Without guessing, I know many of you know about Judas, hopefully. One of the first who deceived Jesus while sitting close to the King, close to Jesus. Jesus said, "He that eateth bread with me hath lifted up his heels against me." That's in John 13, verse 18. Please take a read. But here is what I would like you, chosen leaders, that is a part of this royal community, a part of this world. Chosen leaders, may I say, please, leaders, choose to understand. It is mandatory for you to elevate your heart, your mind, and your soul and align it with Jesus. Every time you sit at the table with one another, with another leader, know this, know it, and believe me, he sees your purpose and your intentions behind every decision you make in your journey right now called leadership. What we need from chosen leaders. You were chosen by the people. You were chosen by God. We need, again, from all chosen leaders from every nation of the world, is that every time you sit at a table and every time you sit at a table meeting with other leaders, you must sit spiritually aligned with Jesus. This is important for prosperity, wealth, peace, and purpose. Not only for you, but for the people under your leadership, for your country, for your state, for your land, and even the lands connected through the seas. The strongest crown leader are not the ones who simply sit in the highest seat. The strongest crown leader, may I say respectfully, are the ones who make sure their hearts are not spiritually out of order. They make sure their hearts are first aligned with truth. They make sure their motives are pure, their actions are proper, and their decisions do not include betrayal. It is not such a bad idea. I mentioned in the first part of my conversation with you regarding the domino effect. It is not a bad idea, I emphasize, to have prayer over each nation's gathering. A matter of fact, ask your country to pray with you at each gathering. Every church and every one that lives and breathes to pray with you. Pray over your decision with your fellow leaders. Pray over not only your nation, but the nation, every nation gathering. When leaders come around the table to talk, pray. Pray and ask Jesus to protect your heart while agreements, resolution, and decision are being made. In fact, Latoya the Optimist, in the year, this is now July of 2026, I suggest that I encouraged moving forward, say a prayer over each leadership meeting. Ask for the Lord's wisdom, protection, peace, and righteousness, a direction before every decision are made. Jesus said, "I have given you an example that ye should do as I have done to you." Greatness is not proven by how many people serve you, but by how faithful you serve the people entrusted to you. I'll say this again. Greatness is not proven by how many people serve you, but by how faithful you serve the people entrusted to you. I, Latoya, the optimist, gifted with the voice of change. I must say this. When this image of leaders around the table was shown to me, was given to me, just like that, in my mind, of leaders gathered around the table with Jesus present, listening to every word and weighing every heart, I felt an urge to call for change, to, to create this, for resolution, for a deep pull within me. I asked, I prayed before I put this together. So, so, and I drew close to him and I gathered myself in his presence and I said, Lord, allow me. I'm not sure why you gave me this image. It is almost like, I won't say, but there are quite a few things that just comes to me and I say, but why? And why me? But we all have a purpose in this life. We all have an assignment and we have to be obedient. We have to also learn to be obedient. I am learning, I'm praying, and I'm asking. So I drew close to him and I gathered myself in his presence to allow him to guide me to present this message. So respectfully, I hope you receive this. Please listen, be encouraged with an open heart. I may not know every detail of what is to come, but I am certain of this. The Spirit of Jesus is aware of every meeting before it takes place, and heaven already knows the truth of the matter. I don't listen to news very much, and if I do, for just a few minutes. So for this image to be popped into my mind when I'm free, minding my own business, free-spirited with my family, it must be serious. So I ask you, listen to this again. Listen with your heart, because Jesus again is aware of every meeting before it happens. I don't have to know, but the Spirit that lives within me, and if you invite him, when you need to know something, you will know without the details, but it will be right. So let Jesus be aware in every meeting. Invite him before it takes place. Because what? What did I say? Heaven already knows the truth of the matter. Okay? So as I continue, Psalms 82 shows us that God sees powerful people. He sees judges. He sees rulers. He sees leaders. And he does not only look at their title. Oh, absolutely not. He looks at how they treat people. God tells leaders to defend the poor and the fatherless. That means do not forget the people who have no voice, no protection, and no power. God tells leaders to do justice to the afflicted and needy. That means leaders must care about the people. Again, you leader, you must care about the people who are hurting, struggling, suffering, and being treated unfairly. Is the situation and the decision you're making creating unfair treatment? Search your heart. We are made out of flesh. We are not perfect. You need to seek guidance. You cannot do it on your own. God also say to deliver the poor and the needy and rid them out of the hands of the wicked. And this is a time to do an inventory on what is happening, what wickedness has been happening intentionally or intentionally, unintentional or intentionally. That means leadership is not just about making speeches, signing papers, and sitting in high places, may I say, which is all fine. Leadership is about protecting your family around you, your community that you grew up with, the people. Again, leadership is about protecting people from all evil, from a fair treatment, from oppression, from hunger, from fear, and from ecosystem that crashes them. What is that ecosystem that you unintentionally create? Let's do an inventory. Let's ask God to review the inventory with you, and let's change the seed to change the harvest. Psalms 82 also warns us that when judgment becomes unjust, all the foundation of the earth are out of course. We do not want this. We've seen this before Christ, after Christ. Why repeat this? Why repeat? Why follow a blueprint that does not stand with Jesus, that does not promote his legacy, his assignment? In simple words, when leadership do wrong, the whole land feels it, family feels it, children feels it, again, community feels it. Nation feels it. The earth becomes unbalanced entirely when leaders become unjust. We see that with what they call global warming. It is not the neighbor's fault. It is not the man across the street. It's everyone's responsibility. We have to work in unison. We have to work in harmony. The earth becomes unbalanced, I say, when leadership becomes unjust, when leadership dies the wrong way, when it falls the wrong way. That means a leader's assignment is not to dominate the poor. Correction. That means a leader assignment is not to dominate the people, but to protect, guide, serve, and build what is right. Leaders, you are chosen for a reason to be at the table, may I say. You were chosen. There's no mistake. If you have a seat at that table called leadership, you were chosen. You were chosen for a reason, again, to be at the table. I ask that righteousness reign in your soul and in your heart, so the people may rejoice in peace. For all people rejoice in peace, prosperity, and wealth for all. I ask that you fight against every chain of darkness. Again, I ask for you to fight against every chain of darkness by moving every indication, by removing, may I say, by removing every indication of any kind of war, greed, betrayal between each other, and wicked control. I am just a messenger. Do not use the skies, the land, the seas, or the power of the office to bring fear, destruction, or domination. That is not true power. That, respectfully, is not true power. That is the way of darkness, and it can blind your leadership. It blinds leaders from hearing wisdom, because again, he is watching, he is listening. Again, this is not true power. This is the way of darkness, and it can blind leaders from hearing wisdom, sharing peace, finding agreement, and resolving matters the right way. The secret to resolving matters is not always more weapons, more pride, or more control. The secret is wisdom, humility, justice, prayer, and agreement under God. This is the way of Jesus. The Bible says, when the righteous is in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked breedeth rule, when the wicked breedeth rule, the people mourn. We don't want that. This gives us a powerful truth that the emotional condition of a nation, again, this gives us a powerful truth. The emotional condition of a nation often reveals the moral condition of a leader. Again, I say, the condition of a nation often reveals respectfully the moral condition of its leadership. It's your assignment. Ask for help. You cannot do it alone. We're not perfect. The office of leadership carries accountability before God. Hebrews 13 and 17 reminds us that those who rule must give account. That means leadership is never just about position. No, you have the assignment, you have the seat. Leadership is a stewardship. Leadership is responsibility. Again, leadership is stewardship. Leadership is responsibility. Leadership is an assignment that heaven sees. So every leader and every nation, when you sit at the table of leadership, imagine once again, he is there. You imagine it, but no, he is there. Imagine that Jesus is also seated right next to you. He's there, not as a decoration, not as a tradition, not as a religious symbol, but as the Lord who searches the heart and weighs the assignment. At his table is his table. Power must bow to purpose. I repeat, pride must bow to humility. Policies, policy must bow to righteousness, and leadership must become service. Jesus shows us the greatest one at the table was willing to wash his feet. May I say again? Jesus shows us that the greatest one at the table was willing to wash feet, was willing to wash feet. So the question is not how high your seat. The question is who is being healed, protected, fed, defended, and lifted because you were trusted with the seat you're sitting in right now. I respectfully ask that question. God's word shows us that when judgment become unjust, when the poor are forgotten, and when the fatherless are ignored, and when the needy are left in the lands of the wicked, the foundation of the earth become out of course. Therefore, leadership is merely a title. Leadership is an assignment under heaven. Leaders of nations sit at the table as if Jesus is listening, because he is. Lead as if heaven is watching, because royal, you are part of the royal family. You are the assignment. It was given to you. You're at the table. Heaven is watching. Serve as if the people belong to Jesus, because they do. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy. I hope this encourages you. Was not made to offend anyone. This simple well the messenger. Thank you. Please stay happy. Until next time. Have a good day.